عظيم عظيم رمضان كريم 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 شهر عظيم 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 قم للعبادة تلقى السعادة قم للعبادة تلقى السعادة تلقى السعادة تلقى النعيم رمضان زمان البركات رمضان زمان الحسنات رمضان زمان البركات رمضان زمان الحسنات رمضان مجال الصلوات طوبى للنفس بتقواها رمضان كريم 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 شهر عظيم 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 رمضان كريم 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 شهر عظيم 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 قم للعبادة تلقى السعادة قم للعبادة تلقى السعادة تلقى السعادة تلقى النعيم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to another edition of Islam the Natural Way, a special series of Ramadan TV programs prepared and produced by the Guyana Islamic Trust. In this morning's presentation, Hafiz Huzaifa will speak to us on the power of dua. First, let's listen to a recitation of Al-Quran by Hafiz Abdullah bin Zaid Khan.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الساعة لآتية لا ريب فيها ولكن أكثر الناس لا يؤمنون. وقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادتي سيدخلون جهنم داخرين. الله الذي جعل لكم الليل لتسكنوا فيه والنهار مبصرا إن الله لذو فضل على الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Brothers and sisters in Islam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you in this month of Ramadan, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla accept all of your efforts. Inshallah, we'll be reminding one another about the power of dua. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in a hadith, Ad-du'a'u huwa al-ibadah. Dua is the essence of worship. Dua is the essence of worship. A believer who doesn't make dua, Allah doesn't like this. Allah doesn't like when you do not make dua. When you do not call upon Allah, Allah doesn't like this. Allah loves it when you call upon Him. This is what Allah loves. Or this is one of the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Ad-du'a huwa al-ibadah, brothers and sisters. Dua is the essence of worship. Zakaria, brothers and sisters, alayhi salatu wassalam, what did he do? When he had reached old age, when his bones had become old, and when gray hair started to appear on his head, he made a dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, to people, upon seeing Zakaria in this state, they may have thought that he cannot, do anything much for himself. He cannot do anything much, he cannot make any children and so on. But Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam, having this firm faith, he made a dua to Allah Azza wa Jal saying, Allah said it in the Quran, وَزَكَرِيَّا إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Zakaria called out saying, Ya Rabb, O my Lord, do not leave me without any descendants, without any children. You are the best of inheritors. وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. And you are the best of inheritors. وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. And you are the best of inheritors. Subhanallah. Allah said in the other ayah, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ وَيَحْيَا. Subhanallah. Allah said He responded to his supplication and blessed him with Zakaria and blessed him with Yahya. Subhanallah. Allah answered his dua. What about Prophet Yunus alayhi salatu salam, the man of the fish? Allah said in Surah Anbiya, وَذَنُّونِ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَن لَّن نَّقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ فَنَادَى في الظلمات أن لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. And mention the man of the fish when he went off in anger and he thought that we would not have decreed anything upon him. Allah said in this state, when he was in the belly of the whale, when he went off in anger, traveling to go to somewhere else to deliver the message, Allah said while he was on this journey and the whale swallowed him, he made a dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. In the darknesses, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, darkness is not darkness. Al-Dhulumat, Allah said. He cried out, he called out in the darknesses. Al-Dhulumat. So Prophet Yunus was under 3 levels of darkness. The darkness of the night, the darkness of the sea, and the darkness of the belly of the whale. Subhanallah. And remember that the belly of the whale is not a comfortable place. It is not a 5-star hotel. The belly of the whale is one of the most uncomfortable place anyone can be, and one of the most dangerous places anyone can be in. Prophet Yunus was maybe one of the only person who was in such a situation, the belly of the whale. Subhanallah. Prophet Yunus, while he was in this dire situation, he made a dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. Imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine you making dua to Allah in the belly of a whale. Prophet Yunus cried out saying, La ilaha illa anta, subhanaka, inni kuntu min al-zalimin. There's no one worthy of worship except you. Exalted are you. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Verily, I was among the wrongdoers. Subhanallah. What did Allah say directly after that? Allah said, وَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. Allah said that He responded to him and relieved him from his distress. Subhanallah. وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Thus that Allah saves the believers. Subhanallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He delivers the believers. When they call out to Him, Allah delivers them from their dire situation, from their distress, from their calamity. So it's very important, brothers and sisters, for us to always remember Allah Azza wa Jal, in dire situation, all of us will go through tough times. None of us is free from difficulty. So we have to remember that dua is a weapon of the believer. It is something that can move mountains. It is something that is very powerful. If someone came to harm you, may Allah forbid, then you first of all need to put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and of course tie your camel form, arm yourself with, with whatever the case may be, and you need to make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. The dua is extremely important. The dua is what will help you, not your physical preparation, but the dua is what will help you. So brothers and sisters in Islam, always remember this. Always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is near. Allah said, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. And if my servant asks of me, tell them that I am near. إِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. Allah is near. Allah is near. Dua, brothers and sisters in Islam, when you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah responds, like we said before. Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah Azza wa Jal responds in either three ways. When you make dua, sometimes Allah responds immediately. Other times Allah might delay that dua to a better time. You might be asking for the dua to be accepted at a particular time, but Allah knows best. Allah knows that Him answering the dua at that time that you're asking for is not the right time, so He delays it. And other times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may replace that thing with something better. So you may not have that particular thing that you're asking for, rather Allah might replace it with something better. So we have to understand this. Sometimes we may be making dua and we might say to ourselves that Allah is not responding. Allah is not answering my dua. Allah is Al-Alim. Allah is the All-Knower. He knows more than you and I. So this is something we should always keep in our minds, inshallah wa ta'ala. Dua, brothers and sisters, should be from the heart. Dua should be from our hearts. We should have sincerity upon making dua, brothers and sisters. And we should be certain that that dua will be accepted. We shouldn't make dua and afterwards, say, oh, Allah may not accept my dua. No, we should not have this thought or this feeling. We should be certain that Allah Azza wa Jal will accept our dua. This is how the believer operates. This is how the believer thinks. He makes the dua and he's certain that that dua will be accepted. What about the best time, brothers and sisters, in making dua? Some of the best times that we can make dua, brothers and sisters, and this is very important. There is special time that can make a dua guarantee acceptance. Generally Allah responds, but there is special time that Rasulullah taught us that we can make dua. One of those times is in the last third of the night, in the latter part of the night. When you get up to pray some extra rak'ah, qiyam al-layl, make dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds. Allah Azza wa Jal responds. When you're in sujood, this is another time to make dua. And a particular time on Friday. The hadith mentions when the khatib sits for the first khutbah, this is the time that dua is accepted. And another time as well is fasting. When you're fasting, you should, be engaged in many dua, not useless talk. We should avoid the useless talk whilst breaking our fast or upon breaking our fast. Be indulged in dua. This is the time when dua is accepted. or this is the time when your dua is guaranteed acceptance. Do not be hasty in your dua, brothers and sisters. Do not be impatient. The hadith mentions that Allah responds to your dua as long as the person does not want that thing quickly. As long as that person is not impatient. So be patient when you're making dua. Do not be hasty, brothers and sisters in Islam. One of the things that dua does to the believer is strengthens his faith, strengthens his tawakkul. It strengthens his connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Making dua to Allah allows you to create a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allows you to create this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, when you have a friend and you're always checking on this friend. You're always checking on this friend. You're always calling him up. You're always, checking him to see how he's doing. If that friend, brothers and sisters, is in a dire need, let's say something happens and that friend is in a dire need, and he has no one else to reach out to, he most likely might reach out to the person who is always checking on him, and vice versa. If you are in a dire need and you call this friend that you always used to check up on, and that you always used to check him up to see how he's doing health-wise and so on. If you are in a dire situation and you call such a friend, he will most likely assist you because you would have always been assisting him, checking up on him and so on. Now when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلَ الْأَعْلَى, Allah is beyond any example. But this is just to help us to understand. When it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a servant who always calls upon Allah Azza wa Jal, he's always in ibadah, he's always in constant remembrance. That person is better than the person who doesn't call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the person remembers Allah in times of need and in times of difficulty. The person doesn't only call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of distress. He calls on Allah, he asks from Allah in times of ease. He asks Allah, oh Allah, keep me steadfast. Oh Allah, increase my sustenance. He calls out to Allah in times of ease and in times of difficulty. This person, Allah will respond to this person faster than the person who doesn't ask of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like you said before, Allah loves the person who asks. The person who doesn't ask, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like such a behavior. So always remember, brothers and sisters, to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not be shy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves when you ask of Him. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبَ لَكُمْ. Allah said, ask of me and I will respond. Dua, brothers and sisters in Islam, help us to get out of hardships. When you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters, Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviates, Allah removes from you your hardship. So dua is a means of your life to become easy. Dua is something that makes your life easy, brothers and sisters. Both in this life and also in the hereafter. Like we said in the hadith, dua is worship. So when you make dua, making the dua, the fact that you're making dua, you get blessings for that. You get blessings for you simply raising your hands and asking Allah. And then when Allah responds to your dua, that's another benefit. That's a benefit in dunya. When Allah responds to your dua, that's a benefit in dunya. So brothers and sisters, dua is something extremely important. Dua, like we said before, dua is the weapon of the believer. Dua helps the believer to get out of hardship. It puts the life of the believer at ease. Once one of the brothers who was really connected to the deen, once he was in a dire situation. So what did he do? This particular person he was always in constant remembrance. He would always make dua to Allah. He would always have this connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he was in this dire situation, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him. Allah saved him. Why? Because he would have always been making dua. He would have always been connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would have always been in the dhikr of Allah azza wa jal. So hence Allah saved him in that dire situation. So this is a lesson for us, brothers and sisters. We are saying that dua removes your hardship. Sometimes when you're in a dire situation, sometimes you don't even have to raise your hands. If you were a person who was always in remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal, who would always be making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when that dire situation reaches you, sometimes without you raising your hands, Allah helps you. Because you would have remembered Allah in times of ease. So hence Allah is now helping you in times of difficulty. When Prophet Yunus, when he made that dua, in the tafsir it is mentioned that when he made that dua, the angels said to Allah, isn't that your servant Yunus? Allah said yes. The angels then said, are you not going to help him? Allah said yes. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, if Prophet Yunus was not of those who used to remember him, then he would have remained in the belly of the whale until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So it's important to always be a person of dua. It's important to always keep that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will remember you in times of difficulty. Remember Allah in times of ease. And Allah will remember you, brothers and sisters, in times of difficulty. Brothers and sisters, never underestimate the power of dua. Never underestimate the power of dua. Sometimes we forget how powerful a dua can be. A dua, like we said before, can move mountains. If there's anything that can move a mountain, then it would be dua. Dua. The hadith mentions that do not harm the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not harm a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you harm a friend of Allah Azza wa Jal, and that person, that friend of Allah, make dua against you, then that's it. That's it for you. Never underestimate the power of dua, brothers and sisters. Look at the prophets. Look at the prophets. The prophets, they were close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happened when they made dua against their people? When the people threatened to kill them and so on, and they made dua to Allah against them. They threatened to kill them, right? They threatened to kill them, they threatened to take their lives and so on. The prophets, they threatened the prophets. So these people, They wanted to harm these close people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the awliya of Allah azza wa jal. They wanted to harm them. So they made dua. And Allah responded, subhanallah. Allah responded. So never underestimate the power of dua. A person can be, anybody can be a friend of Allah, so do not harm any believer. You don't know who can be a friend of Allah. I'm not encouraging you to make dua against people, but we need to be extremely careful when it comes to, harming a believer, because we don't know who can be a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes that person can get upset and make a dua against you. Right? So we need to be extremely careful. And we need to remember as well that dua can help us in dire situation. And we also need to remember that dua is a powerful tool of the believer, brothers and sisters. In closing, brothers and sisters, I would like for you to always make dua. Make dua for yourself. Make dua for your close relatives. Make dua for the people who have passed away. Make dua for the old, for the young. Especially in this month of Ramadan, when dua is accepted, the doors of heavens are open and the doors of Jahannam is shut. So dua in this month, this is the best time to do it. This is the best time to make dua. Ramadan is one of the best times to make dua. So remember to always be indulged in dua, brothers and sisters. With this, may Allah accept all of our efforts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us all in guidance. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviate, remove our distress. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Education and training remains paramount in the work of the GIT. Our diverse countrywide programs continue to improve the lives of scores of persons of all ages, genders, and professions. Our educational programs include weekly classes in Demerara and Berbice, monthly youth camps, monthly family seminars, Qiyamul Layls, children's summer programs, and much more. Your invaluable support remains vital to the success of these programs. We sincerely appreciate your generous contributions during the past year. Please donate generously to this noble cause. Insha'Allah, our representatives will follow up with you to accept your zakah and donations. You may also contact our following representatives to give your zakah or donations. For the Essequibo Coast, please contact Brother Arib Ali on 618-5534. For the West Coast of Demerara, please contact Brother Mu'adh Amin on 639-9252. For the West Bank of Demerara, please contact Brother Muhammad Mahmoud on 672-8329. For the East Bank of Demerara, please contact Brother Akbar Hanif on 667-8039. For the East Coast of Demerara, please contact Brother Mas'ud Haq on 616-8642. For the West Coast Berbice, please contact Brother Safraz Bakas on 698-2272. For the New Amsterdam area, please contact Brother Muhammad Razak on 612-6689. For the quarantine areas, please contact Brother Shoaz Hussein on 642-5430. You may also contact or visit us at the GIT Secretariat, Lot 321 East Street, Georgetown, or call us on 227-0115 or 225-5934 for further information. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you tremendously for your continued support to our humble efforts. Until tomorrow, may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be with you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
رمضان صيام ودعاء رمضان أمان وصفاء، رمضان صيام ودعاء، رمضان أمان وصفاء، رمضان سلوك وعطاء. أهلا بقدومك يا رمضان. رمضان كريم كريم كريم، شهر عظيم عظيم عظيم. رمضان كريم كريم كريم، شهر عظيم عظيم عظيم. قم للعبادة تلقى السعادة، قم للعبادة تلقى السعادة، تلقى السعادة.